Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, you gotta give me more than that. Let me feel the energy. Good afternoon, everyone. All right. I want to welcome you to our NECCom talk. And today we're gonna be talking about communications, AV, and how we can collaborate with music in our churches and also the pastor, how he plays a role in this whole process. Now, today I have joining me, and I want you to give them a good welcome. And first of all, we have Pastor Gregory Nelson. Let's hear it for him. He is the pastor of the New Life Church. Tell us a little about New Life.
New Life is a beautiful congregation in Brownsville, New York. We are, if we're going to be honest, a West Indian congregation, multi-generational congregation, many different islands represented in our church, old school, new school.
All right.
So we're
Diverse.
very diverse, very
Okay.
diverse.
All right. Good to have you, Pastor Nelson. And next we have Kevin Anderson. Kevin Anderson is a music minister. Let's hear it for him. From the Mount Vernon Seventh-day Adventist Church. And we're happy to have you, Kevin. Yeah, right there is good.
Am I good?
Yeah, okay. So you want to tell us a little about, just briefly, because we're going to get into it, music. What's your background with music?
Oh, my background with music started regular piano lessons when I was about 6.5. Didn't want to go. Parents made me go. My father said, "You'll appreciate it later in life," and he was, absolutely correct. And music has taken me many, many places. I mean, I've always done church music, gospel music, in various denominations besides SDA. Done a little bit of other stuff outside of the gospel world. And, like I said, music is just a powerful tool, and extremely powerful when it comes to worship music.
Okay, so we're going to get into that, so stay tuned. And our last panelist is my colleague, my team member, a media production specialist, Gary Saunders. Gary, how long you been doing this thing?
Wow. I think I've been doing this probably for 25, almost 27 years. Started a long, long time ago. A lot of you guys that are out here remember me when I was a little baby doing this kind of stuff.
All right. Okay. So today we're gonna talk about how in our churches we can have that collaboration of the music, the pastor, communications, and AV just working together. So let me just get into it. We're gonna have a casual talk, and let's start with Greg. How do you define the spiritual role of the pastor, the communications and the AV and music, delivering one unified message? How do you see that happening?
Well, clearly in our churches, the preacher or the pastor is entrusted to deliver the word and to preach the message. That message has to be communicated, right? To have a message and have no way to communicate that message, the message is actually useless. So there has to be, especially in the world in which we live,
Yes.
people hear a certain way, people receive information a certain way, and if you've got information to deliver, you have to have competent means to get that message across, especially the way in which people hear. So the pastor, of course, is the visionary. He's the one who understands what the message is, what he's trying to accomplish, and he works hand in hand. He or she works hand in hand with the communication mediums, AV, music, in order to communicate that vision, to effectuate that vision, which ultimately what we're trying to do is to bring people closer to Christ and to help them to have a relationship with the Lord and to be part of the body of Christ.
Okay, definitely, definitely. Um, Kevin, let's get more into it. When planning a service now or an event, who should be involved in the beginning? Greg talked about, well, I guess the pastor having that vision, but who else should be involved in the planning of an event or even a worship service?
Yeah, so you definitely have to have some sort of alignment with the pastor because he kind of sets the vision. And once you have that, myself, I would basically kind of have a structure in mind, and then I kind of relay that to my team. And my team could be like my main musicians or my worship leader or even the choir directors, just so that we're all kind of in the same frame of mind. Obviously, it's like a trickle-down effect, but it starts with the pastor, and then my role is to kind of relay that of like, this is what we need to do to kind of get that whole thing accomplished in a
Okay.
worship service.
So you are the person who brings everything to fruition, to to paint that picture, to create the atmosphere for the worship service.
Yeah, it's very, I like the word atmosphere
Yes.
because I try my best to definitely set the tone or set the atmosphere.
Yes.
Based on the culture of your church, all these factors will kind of play a part, but literally, I think worship literally can set the tone for a worship atmosphere. So,
Now, I think a lot of people do not know what happens behind the scenes, Gary, with the AV team, with the communications and the AV team working together. So, in what practical ways can worship, the visuals, and the messaging reinforce, let's say, the sermon instead of competing with it?
That's actually very, very profound, and I don't think a lot of people really understand that. So in making sure that a worship service actually goes and flows a particular kind of way, there's a synergy that has to become between the pastors, the worship leader, and the media director to actually make sure it actually comes to pass, right?
Yes,
So
definitely.
the Pastor Greg would say, hey, listen, he wants to have a presentation about water. Then the music has to essentially be about water.
Yes.
And then the visuals have to be about water. So in a community setting, it kind of ties everything together to create the atmosphere that Kevin talked about that has the people in the mind frame for water. So that's very, very important to be on one accord with what the house wants.
Yes.
Not what you want, but what the house wants. So practical ways of doing that is actually being in tuned with not just your department and the pastoral leadership, but also with the music as well.
Does anyone else want to jump in on that?
So I think for the purposes of those of us who are listening and watching, some churches don't have the media components all lined up as yet, but we have to be thinking we are in the 21st century, right?
Yeah.
So at some point, if you're going to continue to be relevant in this time frame, you want to start developing that mindset. And the mindset begins before you have all the equipment. The mentality of, okay, this is where we're headed, and establishing regular communication. Pastor should be talking to worship leader, should be talking to audio visual all the time. Because if I have a message, all of these individuals are assisting me in getting that message out. I'll use a biblical illustration. The prophet is getting ready to prophesy, and listen to his words. Send for me a minstrel. In other words, go get me somebody to sing and set the atmosphere for prophecy. The prophet didn't want to prophesy without the proper atmosphere. In other words, you can have a good message, but if you don't have the atmosphere set for the people to receive it, if you have a great message, but we can't hear it,
Yes.
it's pointless. Pastors I'm going to stress this, need to coordinate with their worship leader and with their audio-visual team to make sure the sound is right, because when the sound is wrong, the experience is horrible. if the speakers are screeching in your ear, if it's too loud in the room.
It's annoying.
Yeah, if it's too low, if the volume is too low. The preacher's thundering and you can't hear it.
I like it loud.
People, we are emotional beings. And I know that's a curse word sometimes among us. No, we are emotional beings. And preachers cathect. We push emotion to elicit emotion.
I didn't know that word.
That needs to be captured. The sound man can't be killing the preacher. You've heard it before. Preacher get up and say, hey, turn me up, turn me up.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Because I'm trying to thunder. I'm trying to press the point home. I'm trying to get the folk motivated about this thing, and you're killing me by turning the sound down.
Yes.
Or you're playing with the knobs. That ain't
so
you,
hard.
Gary.
Stop preaching so hard.
Folk will start playing with the knobs and fun. No. The sound needs to be right in the room so that when the people are hearing the sermon preached, the inflections in my voice, the things that I'm trying to do to pull them into the message, that needs to be captured. The music is setting the atmosphere. Preachers will tell you, the wrong song sung at the wrong time throws the whole message off, throws the whole service off. So the minister of music needs to know where the pastor's going to set the table. That's what we call it, setting the table for him. So that by the time I get up to preach, the people are ready to hear the sermon. That's why it's important too. You can't just have any kind of singing up there. Yeah. Kevin, got to be selective. Who are we going to have to sing?
It's crazy.
Because you put the wrong person up there. They have intonation issues, and they sliding in between keys, and it's a mess.
Yes.
And then I got to get up and preach behind that. Oh. My head is hung down. I'm like, Lord, please send the Holy Ghost again. That kind of stuff.
But then you have preachers who actually can sing, that they do it themselves.
Well,
so that is a blessing.
That's a blessing.
That is a blessing.
One thing that I want to say, that I want to kind of get back to the beginning, for those who don't necessarily have a huge ministry, right? Or you don't have the, your worship leader is also your communication and AV leader, right? And what Pastor Greg did say is that what he wants to do is to kind of be a little bit forward thinking. One thing about being forward thinking is that you have to make sure that you have to have systematic generational excellence. Systematic generational excellence. That means that you bring a particular professionalism to the job, then the generation behind you pick it up, and it kind of trickles down. That's why you have some churches that are regularly top tier. I'm not going to say like better than it, but there's churches that like Oakwood,
they're more
right?
Organized.
Right? They're more organized, like Oakwood and Pioneer and those what do they call them? Institutionalized churches, right? They have a particular way of operating, and it doesn't deviate from that. So from year to year, it's the same thing, right? Your grandmother has a recipe, and they pass that recipe down from years to year.
Or they have a system in place.
Yes. It's a system in place. It's still a recipe, and the recipe is what makes your church your church. And one thing that you have to do is find out what makes your church, and be good at that.
Okay, so talking about systems now, Kevin, what systems or structures do churches need to put in place to ensure the smooth collaboration of, this whole thing that enhances our worship services?
I think from a small scale to a mid-sized church to a large-scale church, you have to have elements of intentional communication, and then you use the various platforms and resources that you have. So in other words, a small church, I think that was talked about here, may not have all the big resources like, let's say, one of our larger congregations. However, you can still do things with excellence. Gary kind of mentioned that word. And I'm really, really, really particular when I say the word excellence, because I think we just throw it out there. But I always feel, well, okay, you're doing this for God. So if your day-to-day job,
I think that's key. That's key.
Yeah, if you're doing this for God, and on your day-to-day job that you may do, you're giving them 100%, let's say. I'm going to go way over 100%, anything church-related, because I feel that's the source. So excellence, that word alone, I think will allow you, no matter if you're a small, mid, large church, you're gonna strive for excellence.
Just strive for it.
And if you strive for excellence, I think God really does the rest. Because there are things that we do that we may have a big program in place, and then when it really, you plan and you plan and you prepare and you prepare, but when it happens, it's bigger than you even thought it was going to be. Because I think God takes, if you really do your part,
Yes.
he literally will enlarge your territory.
Yes. So let's talk a little about those structures. You know, the run sheets, that kind of thing. Can you tell them a little more about? Give your personal experience in terms of how you structure or organize a worship service.
Right. So we're already at the run sheet, but before I get to the run sheet, I'm kind of doing like a mini run sheet with, let's say, my music department.
Okay.
And we know where every song is going to go. Everything is a little bit flexible, but I know where my meditation is going to go. I know where offering is going to go. Who's going to basically speak before that? And do I want music in the middle of that? Do I want music while somebody is speaking? But even on top of that, when I'm structuring that on a music standpoint, I'm relaying that all to the AV team. So in our church we use COM. So they literally, we're all on the same page. Because yes, we have a blueprint, which is the bulletin, but we literally know, okay, they're about to do prayer. Put up the prayer song.
Right.
And because you've already sent the prayer song to your AV team, because you prepared, it's there. So yes, the run sheet is there, but it's sort of like a run sheet preparation happens way before we even get to that run sheet.
Okay.
So that by the time you're actually now going through your program, we know exactly where and what to do.
If I may just jump in for 1 second.
Go ahead.
So even before you get to the run sheet, your minister has had conversations with your worship leader, right? For the pastors who are in the room, your minister of music needs to be on the same page with you. That means y'all need to communicate. That means the pastor needs to take time out of his schedule in the week, early in the week, to communicate what he wants to see in the main worship service. That information gets passed on and is discussed between the pastor and the worship leader. So that by the time he's relaying it to his team, he has an understanding of what I want for that Sabbath. These are the things that I want, so forth and so on. This is the way I'm looking at structuring the service. And then I'm asking my minister of music, someone who I trust, because if they're in that position, prayerfully I trust them, all right?
Yeah.
I'm asking him, here's what I want to accomplish. What do you think is the best way for me to get that done? Right. Where's the best place for me to place this? This is the energy that I want. How do you think I can do that? When I have a minister of music like a Kevin Anderson, I'm asking him where to place things to make sure it flows well, because he understands production. I'm also talking to my AV team because, hey, this is what I want to do, and this is the energy that I want. How can I do that? Between the three of us, we are talking about the worship service before anything gets put on paper. We're just dialoguing about it. A half hour, 40-minute conversation. I'm going to use you guys to talk about this part. When I was at Mount Vernon, one of the blessings that I enjoyed was working with Kevin, Gary, and Darrell Hall. It was the four of us.
Where is he?
He's going to be coming. He's on his way. And we go and sit at a restaurant. We had a major function coming up. We take about 2 hours sitting at a restaurant over a meal. And by the time we were done, everything, soup to nuts, was discussed. Notes were taken. Assignments were given. And now we're going to execute. We had to talk about it first before we put anything on paper.
So that's a lot of communication going on. Okay.
A lot of communication.
All right. So what do you say to the person out there who is saying, okay, that's production, that's not worship? What do you say to?
Okay, I like that. I like that statement. So I'm going to retort from the word and from biblical worship history. every aspect of the temple service was highly sensual. The colors that they used, the minerals, gold, and all of the rubies and all of the precious metals. The priests being in white, the ephod with all of that stuff, the aromas and all of that stuff was to appeal to the senses.
Yes.
So it wasn't just theology, it was total engagement of mind and emotions. So it was cerebral, but it was also emotive. The idea of seeing the knife going across the throat and the blood of the animal being spilt, that stuff was meant to conjure certain emotions. The sound of the blast of the shofar, that stuff was meant, it was production, it was theater. It was theater. Salvation is theater.
Okay.
God demonstrating this whole lamb being slain and showbread and altars and fire, all of that stuff was meant to be sensual. It's a production.
Okay.
Let me just jump in. I'm not going to be as eloquent and dramatic as Pastor Nelson, my friend. However, when I hear that statement, I liken it back to there are people who are fighting for your attention, right? You have people who are spending millions of dollars to get you into a movie theater, to wear your handbags, to do whatever, right? To get your attention. It is our job to get your attention in church. And for us to be able to connect and to communicate. If we don't take it seriously, the people who spend however millions of dollars, they're going to take you. So that's your choice. Either do it or you don't.
Okay.
And that wasn't eloquent?
I don't know about the cutting up the throat. But
So it's what I'm hearing is that we have to invest our time, our dollars, and
amen.
and some other stuff to make our worship services meaningful and to be able to reach our members and also our viewers who are watching us online. Okay, so any one of you could answer this. What are the common breakdowns between ministries and how can it be prevented?
I think we actually all came up with the same thing. It's communication.
Okay.
Communication breakdown is the number one cause of failed anything. Actually, anything. If you don't necessarily know where you're going, well, how are you going to get there? Right? I mean, as simple as that.
I think communication, and I'll piggyback off of that with preparation. Because, yeah, we
That's
can
true.
stand here and talk about the
Yeah.
biggest thing ever that we want to do next Sabbath. But if you're not prepared for it,
Yes.
it's just like anything else in life. If you don't prepare in life to whatever it is that you do, then you will have, I think, failure.
Well, Gary, ease up off that gate. O'Shane, if you can help him, ease up off the gate, off of that microphone, please.
I'll add another one there too, and this is more about issues of character, and that is selfishness,
Okay.
right? Where
That part.
where individuals prioritize their thing
Okay.
and not seeing that this whole thing is a God thing. So I want myself to shine, not understanding I'm part of a team. So any part of this thing that ain't shining, we all look bad. So I need to be, so watch this, right? You've seen this before. You're supposed to be singing. The AV guy calls a rehearsal for a sound check.
Okay.
You don't come. Because in your mind, I'm just going to get up here and sing. No, that guy has a job to do too. He has to tune that mic to make sure everything is right in the room. But you come in 2 seconds before the service starts. So there's no time for him to do that. And then when it sounds bad, you're looking at him awkward. You see, what happened is you prioritize your singing, but you didn't prioritize the other aspects of the service that were going to make that singing beautiful and effectual.
Oh boy. I you
I love you, Gary. I'm looking out
go
for you,
ahead,
bro.
Gary.
Serious.
I mean, I've been there. I've done that. And you want to wonder how we sound and why you sound the way you sound. That's your problem, not mine. I'm going to let you stay out there and hang.
Oh gosh.
Thank you, Gary.
No, we're going to be able to take questions a little bit later, but I'm going to let y'all cook.
Oh gosh. Okay. So
You're going to get
Let's-
all that mic.
So how do you balance excellence in production with maintaining authenticity and spiritual focus?
You have to constantly remember why you're doing what you're doing.
I like
when
that.
when it comes to, like I said, anything church related is for God. So if you do not keep that in mind, yeah, you will get carried away. You'll start to feel yourself because you're like, wow, I did this. They sounded good. I sounded good. I played good. And once you do that, that's where you'll stumble. But I think if you're literally constantly just thinking this is for God because that's who you're doing it for, then I think that's how you keep the balance. And just that one word. Just
Okay.
remember.
I would say to be the best version of you. You mean you can't be something that you're not. So find your why and then execute your how.
Okay. You wanted to say something, Greg?
No. That's perfect.
right.
That's good right there.
So let's how do churches ensure that the live stream and an in-person experience feel equally intentional and impactful?
That's hard. Now that really is hard because not everybody has the same resources, right? And again, I go back to you have to find what's best for you. You know, we can't ask somebody who wears a size 9 to step into a size 12. You know, they'll be swimming around in that. You know what I'm saying? So you have to make sure that whatever fits you, that's what you do the best of. So you have to be intentional in finding out what is going to be effective for your church, your ministry, your praise and worship, your AV people to do it, and then actually take that in incremental steps to get to where you want to go.
Okay, so what you're saying is the church over here in
Over their land.
Glastonbury
Over their land. You're not going to mention those
cannot
cities.
necessarily do the same type of worship or live stream that the church over here.
They shouldn't.
Okay.
They shouldn't. I think you need to figure out what your church does the best and do it to the best of its ability. You have some churches who are particularly good at choral and traditional worship singing and worship styles. That's what make them big and grandiose. And they'll bring in the orchestras and the pipe organ, and they come in the choral singing. They're zestfully singing to the Lord. But then you have some other churches that are very, very good at praise and worship, a more contemporary kind of worship or gospel style. They have choirs and praise teams. Well, the church that's traditional can't do that. And the church that is gospel-wise, they can't do that. Find what you need. Find what makes it right for you.
Okay. All right. So we're going to go to the audience for about, in a couple of minutes, in about 2 minutes, we're going to...
There's 2 microphones here in the center.
Okay. And we'd like for you to ask your question, keep it short, and hopefully we'll get a few of you in. But let me go to another question. What does healthy leadership and mutual respect look like between the pastor, the music, and the communications and AV persons?
I would say a wise leader, number one, empowers their people, right? Put the right people in the right places. If you have the right person, there are certain questions I'm not going to ask Gary. I'm not going to micromanage Gary. I'm not going to macromanage Kevin because they're professionals. They do what they do. And I'm not going to act like the professional in their zone of excellence. So I'm not going to tell Gary what to do about audiovisual. I'm going to ask him, hey, man, this is what I want to get done. How do you think I should go about doing that? That's respect.
Absolutely.
When you're trying to tell a guy who's been doing this for 27 years, who is world known for doing it, and you want to come in, and I think sometimes when we have, quote unquote, the higher office or the higher position, so people in authority sometimes do not know how to really manage that authority and to share that authority with people who are, quote unquote, their subordinates, right? Or quote unquote work under them. Yes, he's your AV guy, but in this sphere, he's the professional. You should be listening to him and asking him, hey man, what do you think? What do you think? I think that's one of the ways to engender respect, by asking questions and allowing the people who you've put in positions of authority to do their thing, and learn to not micromanage. Stay out of their way, and in the words of the young people, let them cook.
Yeah.
Now that's actually profound. And another thing is that, because what he said is just something that you take as departmental leaders, period. Departmental leaders, period. I've been doing this for 27 years, right? But even still, of being for 27, doing it for 27 years, I'm still learning. And the people who I've trained are teaching me things that are allowing me to even try to be better in those things. It's not, I'm not the end all, be all.
Be open. Be open to.
What a leader does is build leaders.
Yes.
And they accept other leaders. You know, respect, you don't have that comment, real, recognize real? Real, recognize real? That's really what it is. I have a young man here who I've had since he's about 9, 10 years old. I take him wherever I go. Wherever I go. And he's probably one of the top engineers in this Northeast region that he doesn't even really realize that he's that good. But he's that good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people, they see me, but behind me, there's a him. And I'm perfectly fine of saying that it's not me that's making this thing sound good or make it look good. I have a team that can do it. I'm getting old now. You see this? I didn't have this when y'all saw me before. Right?
Okay, so let's talk about, you talking about training persons
Yes, ma'am.
in your different areas. So tell these folks, how do you go about doing that? How do you go about recruiting for your departments?
Sometimes you recognize, even at a younger age, that this young woman, this young guy has something, or you may even sometimes see some of yourself in them, and then you kind of pour into that next generation. By pouring into that next generation, it helps you become a better person too. You know, because you're empowering them, and then once you see them develop and then they take off, there's really no greater feeling.
Systematic.
Yeah, and so that's how it keeps on happening.
Yes,
You know, I've gone through a few different children's praise teams at Mount Vernon, and now, you know, they're young adults, some of them, and they're like one of the best worship leaders / singers, and but you see that development from the very first time that they were in church, but it's because they, you know, they kind of watch who was in front of them, and then they usually end up passing who's in front of them, and they just keep going.
So I think the takeaway from that is don't be afraid to involve the younger generation. No matter how young they are, they can do something.
You have to create a pipeline.
Right.
Yeah, you have to create a
Definitely.
pipeline.
Okay, so I'll do one last question and then we'll go to the audience. So if a church wants to improve their collaboration starting this month, what is the first practical step that they should take?
Conversation. There needs to be a conversation.
A real one.
Yeah, a real conversation.
Real one.
Where are we? Where do we want to go? What resources do we have available to us now? What do we have in our hands? Let's talk about that. Okay? Where do we want to go? Where are we? Where do we want to go? What resources do we have? And what are going to be the steps that we're going to take in order to take us to the next level? I would also recommend, while you're doing that, tap into other people who are already where you want to go. Call other people. Yes. Pick up the phone. Call professionals. Call the conference office. Hey, I like this church and what they do, and who is the engineer over there, or who's the minister of music, or who's the pastor. Yes. We are a sisterhood of churches, and some of our churches have more resources than others.
We ain't trying to give them up, though.
Huh? Well, yeah, we you know, it's amazing to me, and I use this illustration. It's a beautiful illustration. Emmitt Smith, world-renowned running back, goes to Michael Jordan to ask him some business advice. Michael Jordan pours into Emmitt Smith for over hours. Emmitt Smith is blown. He goes, "Why aren't you telling more people about this?" To which Jordan responds, "What did you do to find the information?" He said, "I asked you, and there it is." Jordan has all this information to give, but these guys do not call him up. We have people in our churches we see doing amazing things. And some of us will talk about what they're doing or talk about what they're not doing, but we will not go to those individuals and ask them, "Hey, I like what you do over there. How do you do that? What are the things that you did in order to get you guys where you are?" And this idea of competing with other churches, we are not competing with our fellow churches.
Yes.
We are an extension of each other. We are the same church in
the
different
same team.
locations. We're on the same team.
Yeah.
And what we need to be doing is sharing resources.
Yes, definitely.
We need to allow sometimes our people, when people have come to my church and asked me to send my worship leader to do something over there, I'm like, listen, we're going to see how we can work that out. And if I can, I'll release my worship leader. I'll get somebody else that day. I say, listen, you're up. There's another church who's struggling right now. They need help. Go over there and give them a hand. Show them some stuff. Or we'll do some joint trainings. Let them come to your church and sit under your training and your tutelage. Or you go and sit under somebody else's tutelage.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
To piggyback off what Pastor Nelson said, that is very, very, very important. As someone who now goes to a lot of different churches and helping out those churches, there is a need that I see throughout the actual conference of a different way of thinking, and a different way of executing. So what he's saying is very, very important. If you don't know something, ask somebody.
Yes.
You know, I have another young man, his name is Javon Higgs. I had him at the same time with this other gentleman here, O'Shane, and, you know, the systematic generational excellence that I built, the church built, allowed him to go on and do great and greater things. He works for the NBA now, doing the same thing that he learned in the church when he was working with me. And he's now working in NBA in audiovisual. So don't think that a pathfinder can't go to a producer. Been there, done that.
And that's what the church is all about, isn't it?
It's a training ground.
Right.
Your worship houses are training grounds for
And
pastors,
and
for
some
worship.
of the finest musicians, singers, preachers, politicians, all came out of somebody's church.
Facts.
Yes. Yes.
Remember, it goes back to the word excellence.
Yeah.
So literally, the church becomes this training ground for excellence. And so when you go out into the regular world market, it's really nothing because you're accustomed to excellence. So that's why we'll just keep on preaching excellence in whatever we do, because it's a trickle-down effect. It's a domino effect.
Yes. Okay. So let's go to the audience.
Carrie, turn on 89.
Okay.
you go.
It's on.
Thank you. I believe it's on. First of all, I want to thank God for each one of you. You sit as an amazing panel team to give us the insight and the light, the understanding that we need to be effective in this area in our churches. I've been waiting for something like this for the longest because
praise
it's
the Lord.
something, yes, it's long overdue. Now, my question pertains to the run sheet. You guys, Nelson, and you guys you've done a marvelous job on that. Here's my question, I'll sit down. Is there a person elected with a comprehensive understanding, let me finish it all, of what's supposed to happen in every area to serve as a coordinator to make sure there is no breakdown of communication in the overall production, who must be respected and adhered to by all? And by that I mean, this must come as a vote of the church board that everyone, including the worship leader, including the pastor, is going to listen to this man, not because he is the primary authority of the church like the pastor, but because he has a comprehensive overall understanding of everything that's supposed to transpire, resulting from that communication that is taking place between him, the pastor, and the worship leader. Because once you get one person with all that knowledge who has the comprehensive understanding, he can make sure that every segment is being effective as it's supposed to, and make sure that the communications are kicking in smooth so that there is no defection, that there is no lapse, that there is no interference. So
Okay, I
I'm
think
done.
we got you.
You
All
want to
right.
go first?
So that position does not yet exist in terms of a voted or elected position. What we have done, and what I've done in times past, we had a production manager. That person was managing the worship service. They had, Kevin operates in kind of that way at his church at times. And so we're taking our cues from Kevin. When we're going up, when we're sitting down, there's a timer on the back of the wall. Each segment of the service is timed. And so a person sees how much time they have for their segment. There has to be a norm established. The problem with trying to go the church board route and all that, it can get really complicated, and you set up another hierarchy that has to now compete for authority and so forth. The pastor should delegate and designate someone to run the worship service according to the discussions that have already taken place, or help to manage the service. I've seen it done that way. I've used it. I don't run my worship service. My minister of music and my AV folk, everything is already discussed. It's already done. I'm just sitting down, and if something slips, if someone is not paying attention, I definitely am paying attention, and I'll just remind them, you're up. But the audio, my worship leaders and my AV folk keep the service moving fairly quickly.
I think a different part of this, and I think that's what Pastor Montel that was talking. It's something that should have been trained up in the church, that is essentially someone that is not necessarily, I'm not going to say they're respected or not, because I don't think that's neither here nor there. If there's a gifting and you're pouring into that gifting, you will see that gifting flourish. Simple as that. So that person will automatically become who they're supposed to be, and the church would automatically see it. So it's not necessarily that you have to vote for respect. It will automatically become evident.
If also, again, the pastor of a church holds a lot of weight and a lot of authority. If the pastor designates that individual and invests them with the authority to run that, and he, again, you can't sabotage the person that you've empowered. So you can't just run roughshod over the person that you empower. Once you empower someone to do something, you subject yourself to their authority as well.
That's right.
I think too, in AV in AV departments or in teams, there are roles. So you wouldn't just need to establish in your churches, whether it's a stage manager, a floor manager.
We're going to talk about that in the breakout sessions.
Yeah.
We'll
So
talk about the breakout sessions.
make sure that you attend these sessions.
There's people here. There's people lined
The
up.
training, the communications training that is going to be taking place. We're going to talk about all of that, all of the roles that will help your services to run better. So we're going to take, who was next?
That side, go that way.
Okay, let's go right here.
First, I want to say thank you, Saunders, Brother Saunders.
Hold on. Oh, Shane, can you turn up the monitor? Thanks.
Yeah, many, many years ago, you were doing a lot of workshops online.
I did?
You were a part of, yes. And it was through those sessions that I was able to develop the skills that I have gotten now for AV. So I say thank you. But my question really goes to Anderson? Yes.
Kevin.
Yes.
Kevin.
So you mentioned about the AV, some protocol that you use, some platform that you used as a form of communicating.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Sure. So we use, so before we would just use chat or emails, okay? That everyone is practically on that. And then in 2025, we actually developed a music scheduler. And now we have something that's called Spare that we'll be launching. And we'll talk about that actually in some of our breakouts for the music ministry. But it's like anything else. We started with text messages and did a group chat. That always works. But then now, technology advances, so you now take advantage of other things. So like I said, we now use the music scheduler, and then now we're going to eventually move to this other platform called Spare. But that's basically what we do. And on that, literally, it's from scheduling when you're singing, whether it's a different praise team, the song's already in there. We know who's singing, we know who's playing, so it's everybody's held accountable, but it's all based on the organization. So like I said before, it's kind of a trickle down, you know what I mean? So.
Okay, so we see that organization is key, and let me put in a plug for the music workshop that is happening next. Those of you who are interested.
Hello, committee members. Just want to say thank you for taking the time to do this podcast. I wanted to ask, in terms of finding new talent within your church, would you recommend conducting auditions? And if you do recommend it, how would you approach and structure them? And if you wouldn't recommend that, would you have any alternatives?
And so, when you say audition, you're talking about music, or you're talking about AV, or you're talking about camp? You're talking about specifically
particularly
music?
like musicians and singers of that nature.
So I'm smiling because in our music ministry workshop, that's one of the things that we discuss.
Shameless.
Yeah,
Shameless.
so that's why what you smile, I was like, yeah.
What he's trying to say is you need to stick around for the next session.
For the next session, because that is something,
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, right here, next.
Hi, good evening. My name is Angela, and I too am very privileged and happy to be here. I think this has been a very informative session. Okay. Based on what you said, this question may be for a breakout session, but I'm going to still ask it. And if it is, you can state that. This is going to be directed to Gary. Recently, I was reading through some blogs, and they were talking about the vulnerability of people that are in your congregation. How do you deal with what your cameraman focuses on? How vulnerable are your audience members when they're in the height of emotion, when they're crying? Should you still focus your camera on that? It looks great, but does that person really want to be seen at that weak moment?
That's a very interesting question, and I love it. I'm going to do a twofold answer to this. The first one is, when you enter the house, you are subjected to the rules of the house. At some churches, there are a slide that says you can be seated certain places if you do not want to be on camera. then do that. Because all of that, what you just said, may be able to save somebody by seeing that emotion. But if you don't want to be a part of that, then remove yourself from that particular area. And I think some churches may want to put that up.
Yes.
Or just be a little bit more cognizant of the people who are doing the camera operation, to be more, very, very tasteful in actually what your camp is doing. If you can see the person that is going through a tumultuous kind of experience, they're boo-hooing, snobbing, and all sorts of stuff is falling out their face, why would you catch that?
Yeah.
Right? And if you know what's going on in somebody's life, you won't do that. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be able to be very, very careful of what the house deems appropriate and where they actually have you being placed. Just like even being an usher. You know what I'm saying? I would say some ushers were like, listen, you have a hard of ear hearing, or sorry, if things are a little bit too loud for you, you probably want to sit at the back or where the sound is not as heavy. So just be cognizant of that. Hope that answers your question.
And I'm sure you're going to get into that too, that the technical director will actually be the one determining the shots that are...
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll be getting
So-
into that.
So you'll touch a little on that
Shameless plug. She's
in your
horrible.
workshop as well.
Good, right.
Good evening, everyone, or afternoon. I just have a question directed to Pastor Nelson. You had said that we need to share resources, but is there a platform or like a database or something where we can reach out to people? Because most of the time I'm stuck at my church. I don't get a chance to go out to other events or to other places. So if I need a tenor or my soprano is sick, or even when we have the area.
So let me help you.
Okay.
We might as well just put some of this out there. This platform that these guys are working on called Sphere, it's going to have a social media component where you're able to actually list and put your services. Tenors who are available, altos who are available. Awesome. You'll be able to connect with other churches. As your church, I'm going to be one of the first people to sign up my church for Sphere, so that my people will be able to connect with all of the people who are on Sphere. So if I'm looking for a tenor somewhere in the greater, anywhere, anyone who has Sphere, I can post that job listing that I need a tenor, such as a date, such time, and then those resources will be made available to me. This new platform, seriously, it's a game changer. I kind of got a little preview and a glimpse. It's a game changer in terms of where we're going with this stuff.
I will say, to kind of further answer your question, that's to come. And I'm assuming your question is, what do I need right now?
Yeah.
So if I'm you, I would do what I do right now. I don't use Spirit to do that. I literally just get on the phone and call somebody that I know that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. Okay. No, you know what I'm saying? I mean, because right now, that's what now these are things that we know will be taken care of with that platform. But right now, yeah, if I need a tenor, I'm going to call the next church, or I'm going to call a tenor that I know that goes somewhere else to say, are you available? But that's really, because it all boils down to networking.
Yes.
And it's word of mouth. That's the original network. It's just that we're using technology now to make it a little bit simpler. So.
Thank you. All right. Do we have, okay.
Good afternoon. My question, I'm not sure if Pastor can answer it or Gary or all of you. Some of us have churches that have predominantly senior congregations. For mine, for example, the young people are the AV team. That's it. There is no one else. And the children are too little. But with it being a senior congregation, they, sometimes fall asleep. They have default faces that don't look happy to be here.
Why do I know where this is going?
They're not as engaging in service, and I have been struggling on how to
shoot around it?
Yes, so I have to admit, as the manager and the head of the department, to my TD that, you don't, I went to Oakwood, so we got to shoot all kinds of things. And so I recognize that is not in the sanctuary. And no matter how often I try to like encourage people, like, remember, someone's watching you. One time someone wanted to argue about their spot online for right hand of fellowship, and I'm like, you're on camera. Do you want people outside to see you arguing when we're welcoming someone into church after baptism? Like, I have to like make certain members feel bad to make them cognizant of like, you are a part of a ministry that connects to people at home. And so if they see you arguing, would they want to come here? Is that what you want them, how you want others to see Jesus? That's how I get them to like cave a bit. But like, what's a way? I don't know if it needs to come from music. I don't know if it needs to come from the pastor. But what's a way to get those who are about 60 and above to not...
All right.
Yeah.
We get it.
Thank you.
we get it. All right. So, wow. God bless our senior folk.
And thank you for your service. Thank you for what you do. Yeah.
We love them. Oh, bless their heart. So the only thing I would say is this. As a person that is technical and broadcast-wise, you do have to find a way to kind of shoot around it.
Yes.
If not, then I understand that placement or replacing them may be a little bit challenging. But you really do have to find, as the director, the best way to actually to get around it. But also bring it to your pastor, let them know what's going on, because again, what the church needs to realize is that this is essentially now their first glimpse into people's first glimpse into your building. Before it was websites, now it's YouTube. You know, so you have to be very, very cognizant. But I want to say this, and I said this before, find out what the church does best and do that.
Yes.
Right? So if the worship person,
may not be live stream.
if the worship thing ain't right,
do something else.
something else.
So let me help you a little bit here, right? A little bit more. Hurry up. The culture has to be established.
That part.
So sometimes we jump to live streaming when our church is not a live streaming culture yet.
Yes.
You got to establish the culture. That means people have to be taught, right? As ministers, one of my senior ministers who was teaching me, he told me, when you get to a church, you have to teach a church how to respond to your preaching. That happens over time. When you first get there, people are not going to respond to your preaching in the way that you want. You have to teach them. That church has to be taught how to become a live stream cultured church. So that has to happen from the minister and from the board of elders, because the leadership has to embrace the idea, talking to members individually and having conversations like so-and-so. I've had this conversation with some of my church members. I need you to smile a little bit more often. You all look like something is wrong with you. And that is a turnoff to other people. Your witness is not as strong as it needs to be. That's a one-on-one conversation. And I keep encouraging those individuals to smile. And I smile at them. And over time, a church takes on the personality of its pastor. So the leader has to set that tone. My church, over the years that I've been there, has become a more loving church. It was good, but it's gotten more because I'm all about love and showing love and demonstrating it. We have to build a culture that will support the thing that we're trying to do over time.
Thank you.
Well said, sir.
Okay. We have 2 questions, and we're going to have to wrap it up. So let's go here first.
I have a quick question. Does the conference have the resources in the communication department to help smaller churches develop, to have a standard across the conference-wide? Help churches develop run sheets and other things to teach them. Do we have the resources to do that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we're going to be providing during this summit.
This is what we're doing now. We're providing you these resources.
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. The question is there a difference between church production and regular entertainment production And I know each church culture is different, but how could we say at this point, okay, we're doing too much because it's overshadowing worship? That's it.
I think he wasn't here when we answered that, but
In one word,
ahead.
if you don't keep God, then it is going to be just a
It's
show.
gonna be a production.
There's no way else around it. It'll always be about yourself if you lose focus that it is about God. Because you can say, wow, they're going overboard with this production. If my mind is centered on God and I'm doing it to the extreme and I'm using every single resource that I possibly can and I'm pouring it all in and it's literally I'm focused on God, I think that you can't say, oh, it's overdone because it's soaked in sincerity for worship to God. But if you lose that, yeah, it's going to be a show.
I'll do you one more than that too.
1 minute.
Don't get in the space of trying to determine what is overboarded, what is of God, and what is not of God. Let God handle that. Because sometimes you have no idea what's going on in that space. You have no idea what's going on in that production. From your vantage point, it looks like it's over the top. From their vantage point, it may not be that. We don't know. We could say, hey, I just won't do that. But you don't know, and we can't judge it. Let God handle it.
Yeah, do what's best for you.
For you.
You can't be someone that something is not.
And like you say too, you don't know what is going on in someone else's life. You don't know what they are experiencing. So we can't really say, well, it's a show.
Yes, sir.
All right? Okay. So I think we had a good discussion here. I hope it was a blessing to you and you have some takeaway from this whole discussion. Can I hear it for our panelists? Thank you for joining us. And remember, let's elevate our worship services and let's do it all to the honor and glory of God. Thank you once again for coming, and you have a great day.